で、次の講演は欧州での ICT を使ったエネルギー効率化の取り組みと題しまして、欧州委員会の安川来年さんにお願いいたします。では安川来年様、よろしくお願いいたします。
So, thank you, Chairman, and good morning. So my name is Juhani Jääskelä, and I work for the European Commission, Digital Information Society and Media. It's a pleasure for me to talk to you in this Energy ITS session of the activities of the European Commission in applying information communications technologies in achieving low-carbon society and reduction of CO2 and it's achieving energy efficiency. Of course, when we talk about applying information communication technologies in the field of transport, we are talking about ITS, so you can more or less interchange these terms. Now, when the energy efficiency has been getting higher and higher in the political agenda over the last years, we have adopted many communications on this topic in Europe, and of course also this same thing has happened globally. I am just going to mention two communications, and the first one is it was so-called Energy Efficiency Action Plan, which was adopted in October 2006 and endorsed by our European Council, that means the member states, in March 2007. And this is the one which initially set the target of 20% reduction in energy use by using whatever means. Now, if you think of all the possible actions, there are of course many, but just on the topic of using information communication technologies, then our department in the Commission adopted a communication which was titled Addressing the Challenge of Energy Efficiency Through Information Communications Technologies in May 2008. And this was kind of a start for, let's say, our more deeper involvement in this domain. And this was the communication which basically was pointing out the potential of ICTs as instrument in addressing these challenges. Now, what the communication is saying is that ICTs is actually part of the problem. So it's something like 8% of electricity use, which is not a big number, but the problem is that it is actually getting bigger. This is easy to understand if you think of all the internet servers and the proliferation of, let's say, information communications technologies in our society. So basically, it's also an issue to address the energy use of ICTs on its own. But the good news is that it is also an effective tool, or more effective tool than its possible negative impacts could be. So what the studies have indicated is that the positive impacts of applying ICT, they are 5 to 10 times larger than the possible increase in the energy use of ICT sector itself. So by using ICT, you could actually save 15% of the total energy by 2020. And this, of course, is a big number. So if you think of the 20% target, so with ICT alone, you could get fairly close to the target, but this, of course, means massive deployment. Now, again, this communications is identifying a number of sectors in the society where these savings could be achieved. And I think it's fairly easy to understand because this is what we have started to do, and at least to a certain extent, like heating and lighting at homes and other buildings, power grids in transport and in manufacturing. Okay, now after this communication was adopted, we established a task force, and well, the task force, there has been many task forces, and this should not be mixed up with the task force which we established for cooperation with METI, which I'm going to talk about later. So this was an internal infra task force, and then under that we established the so-called ad hoc advisory groups, which were looking into different domains. So the idea was that after this communication, we would look more deeply what needs to be done, and we would be identifying the possible next steps. And more or less the work of this ad hoc group was confirming what the communication was saying, but with much more detail. So the report of this group has been now published, and what it is saying is that savings can be achieved with reducing the ICT's own footprint, and then working in a number of domains like what I have actually mentioned, the smart grids, photonics and lighting, manufacturing, transport and logistics, which is of course our domain, and buildings. Now, then the report goes further, and it is recommending a number of actions which the Commission and other players should take in order to make this happen. If we look more specifically at what it says about the transport domains, there's another percentage, which is 26%. And the conclusion of this ad hoc group is that in transport sector, which is of course one of the heaviest energy users overall, you can actually achieve 26% by using ICTs or ITS. And how do you do it? Then let's say this is not a surprise, because this is what we all know. Of course, one thing which we left out of this study is what happens with the powertrain and the fuels and the engine technology and so on, because this is covered elsewhere. So this is about applying ICTs. The first domain is eco-driving, how the people are using their cars and the vehicles and so on. Then all these traffic flow issues, which were mentioned by our previous speakers, they're very important. All this eco-friendly traffic management goes under this. Then we have to talk about the access control. Now, if you want to do effective flow control measures, I don't think that you can get away without making some access control measures as well, in order to avoid negative compensation issues and so on. Then also this report is pointing out that there are a lot of technologies now which are close to the market or getting to the market later, being under development, which can have a positive impact as well. So ACC, for example, it has a smoothing effect, and it can have, let's say, 5 to 10% saving in energy. Then there are other technologies like stop and go assistance and so on. Also ADAS, so if you avoid an accident, this has a big impact on the energy use, because you understand you avoid congestion and so on. Okay, so these were the main domains. Now, just to conclude this part, what is going to happen next, we actually have a new communication being planned with the recommendation to the member states and actions for the member state and the industry, and this is going to be adopted hopefully in March this year. And then there is also a high-level workshop which we are going to organize, and it's going to be a 2-day workshop, 19th and 20th of March, so in about 1 month's time in Brussels. It's organized under the Czech presidency and hosted by our Commissioner Viviane Reding. And it is, amongst other things, it's aiming at raising the visibility of ICTs in energy efficiency and so on. And there's an exhibition, and also there is one session dedicated to transport, where we have 5 speakers. I'm not going to go to the details here, but you can see that there are important speakers from industry and academia and the government side as well, talking about this ICT for transport, energy efficiency. Okay, so my next topic is something which is fairly new. Now, we haven't talked about this on the occasion of our cooperation with Japan or US yet, because this is fairly new. This is the Green Car Initiative, and this is part of the, let's say, actions we have taken due to this economic situation where we are now. Now, I don't need to talk too much about the economy because everybody knows where we are. It's a global crisis. For example, yesterday in the news it was that was announced that the exports from Japan went down almost 50%. It's very severe. I think we all understand where we stand. Especially hard it hit, of course, is the automotive industry in US, also in Europe, and I think it's starting to have impact in Japan as well. So the question is that what do we do? And now with the measures we have in the Commission, it is quite difficult to think of bailing out our automotive industry or suppliers. Of course, we would like to see that happen, but it is more something which happens in the member states, and our concern is that to continue with our internal market and to avoid unfair competition and so on. So if you are giving subsidies and to avoid protectionism, which is very important. But what we came up with is something which is not planning to bail out the industry, but it is planned to ensure its competitiveness on a more long-term basis. And this is called the Green Car Initiative. And under this, we have measures which, when we were setting up this up, we were thinking that these are big figures, but now, I mean, billion is not money anymore. But this is a 5 billion initiative. And now 4 billion out of that will be so-called soft loans for the automotive industry in order to maintain their innovation and research and development, which is, of course, important for the future competitiveness. Then 1 billion is directly to the research and development, and this is where we come in. There's also a third column or third pillar in this initiative, which is simplifying the legislation, which we have been into this for a long time to make it easier for automotive industry to operate on the global markets. Now, so what is the Green Car Initiative is about? It is about electrification of road transport. And I think that if you compare this with the earlier attempts, what we have done is that now we all understand that this is not only about the electric car, this is about the whole transport systems and an energy system and so on. How you produce your energy, how you distribute it in the grids and so on, and all the things which are included. And we are talking about the new type of mobility, which is everything is changing completely. And of course, we are not saying that we are world leaders in this, but we don't want to be followers either. I think that we have to do our part and be a global player in this domain as well. Okay, so when it boils down to actually doing something, then we have a number of options. I think that the basic thing which we have understood is that we need the partnerships. So this is what the PPP stands for. So it's a public-private partnership. So the public sector has to work together with the industry to make it happen. Now, of course, then we have to work with using the tools we have. So one of them is the research funding, and there will be joint calls between the different departments in the Commission in order to make this happen. Then one thing which I would like to mention maybe about this slide is so-called JTI. This stands for Joint Technology Initiative. It's a kind of a PPP as well, where the funding is coming from multiple sources like member states and the Commission and the industry itself and so on, in order to make a big making work on a big target. And obviously, this green car is a big target. So DG INFSO, that stands for the Information Society and Media, where I'm working. What we have more or less decided is that we are aiming at technologies which enable building fully electric cars. So it's as part of this initiative, we are of course doing a lot of things which can be applied for all kind of the alternatives and cars with combustion engines and hybrid cars and cars with range extenders and so on. But then the new work is going to be in a fully electric car. And we are working on a position paper. It's actually quite finished now, so it will be adopted hopefully in the next future. What is going to be under this initiative? Now, maybe I should mention that when we talk about ICT, then of course something is excluded, like we are not working on battery technologies and such things, but almost everything else. Okay, my final topic today is actually international cooperation. I just would like to emphasize how important it is, and this is a little slide about the framework. So, in the end of the day, I think that we should work together, the US, Japan, and Europe, and there is definitely a, let's say, political push towards it. In US, we have been working mostly with US DOT so far. And this, of course, gives a certain weakness because until now, the DOT hasn't been so much involved in energy efficiency and CO2 business. Now with Mr. Obama, this might change, and then, of course, we can also talk to Department of Energy and Department of Environment, and which we are doing to a certain extent. So I'm looking forward for this cooperation which we have established with the United States to move more towards CO2 as well. So then in Japan, we are here, we have heard a lot of what is going on here, and of course one of the things here is the Green IT initiative and of METI, and you have seen here, and you will see later this week, that there are other ministries here involved, and we are working together. Now, I think I should mention that also, this is also the case for us. So it's not only DCIMSO, but you might have contacts with other departments of the European Commission, and they're working together on this issue. Okay, this goes a little bit more detail on what happens in the international side between us and the other parts of the world. So with METI, we have endorsed in Tokyo just more or less a year ago a cooperation agreement on energy efficiency, and this is why we are here, for example, and why we have this workshop here. With US DOT, this is a little bit more formal basis, and so we have signed this agreement in Washington in January this year, and why we were able to go, let's say, one step further with the United States is that there exists a scientific and technological cooperation agreement between the European Community and the United States, which was actually established in 1997. And there is an extension and so on. So this is the formal basis, and then now what we have done is actually, it's called, in the legal term, it's called implementation agreement. And it covers a number of domains, as you can see, like cooperative systems, which we were discussing yesterday, and active safety systems and so on, and field operational tests and applications of energy and environment, which, as I said, will be more prominent in the future. Okay, then with METI, what we have done on our side, we established a task force which was done in 2008, and it has actually published its report. Is available. It's on the web, and it's available as copies here as well. And now we are working with within this task force on the methodology of how to measure the impacts of ITS in CO2 emissions, and it's a very important topic. And then later we are planning to cover other topics like the automated driving. But at the moment, first we have started with this this work, and the members of this task force, they are here also today and participating in the debate later this week. Now, what this report is about is that we started by looking into the applications of ITS in energy efficiency. And so what is available, and then we were looking in the what's available on as tools. So for example, simulation models. What kind of simulation models we have? What kind of emission models we have? What kind of databases we have? Traffic data and so on. And then there is not necessarily a match between these two things. So therefore, the next step is to identify the gaps and then give recommendations on how to continue. And this is exactly the phase we are today. So this work will continue with then acting on the identified gaps and so on. Okay, and this I think is my last slide is about the next steps. So the first bullet, actually we have achieved this, the publication of the EC Method Task Force final report, it was done. Then the adoption of the Commission communication on energy efficiency is going to happen next month. Then I haven't talked about our calls in the energy efficiency domain because I was talking about those yesterday, but we have 2 calls planned. One is actually open now, and there's another one on next year, which enable people to send proposals also covering this energy efficiency domain. And then high-level meeting I have mentioned, and then concerning the whole Green Car initiative, including our position and how we will continue, this will be hopefully adopted in April 2009. Now, if you follow the news in Europe, you will maybe have discovered that there will be a lot of summits and the highest political level discussing these issues, and so this communication will go probably to the June summit where our decision makers then decide how to go ahead with this. Thank you very much.
安川ラーニンさんもありがとうございました。